No. Okay, so here we are. We're at our monthly mindfulness and meditation break, and I created this space to give us an opportunity to spend a few minutes checking in with the mind and the body, and talk a little bit about some tools and methods in the space of holistic well-being that I know to have worked very well for myself and others. And so we do focus a lot on the mind space here, but that physical well-being is absolutely a part of it. So we talk a little bit about some methods and techniques, and then we do spend a few minutes meditating together. And I'm so very happy you all are here live and catching it on demand. If you are, I'm very honored to be here with you each month as well. And so today's topic is health is more than just physical. So May is Mental Health Awareness Month, and this gives us an opportunity to pause and bring awareness and recognize that our mental and emotional well-being are just as essential as our physical health. And I personally believe that mental well-being is foundational. It's not secondary to our physical health. And when we talk about what mental health is, it's generally a person's overall psychological well-being. And that includes things like our emotions, our social interactions, and our cognitive functioning. And we often may prioritize our physical health because we can see it, right? We can see our body and perhaps things that may be going wrong. But the quality of our thoughts and our emotions really quietly shape every part of our lives. And in the midst of constant demands for many of us, it's easy for us to overlook these quieter signals of stress, overwhelm, and fatigue. And again, that mind shapes our experience, it shapes our behavior and our outcomes. And I have an example of this, from about 10, 11 years, 12 years ago now. I was in a pretty severe state of burnout. I was working in a job that had a lot of conflict. I was an internal investigator, so everything I did was kind of in that space of conflict. And I became mired in it because that's all my mind was focusing on. And so conflict for me was everywhere. I saw problems everywhere, and it manifested in my relationships and whatnot. But when I began to steady the mind through a committed kind of daily practice, I found that everything became a little bit calmer and I had less turbulence and more ease. And so this month invites us to check in with our own mental health, help maybe to reduce some of the stigma around it, and then prioritize some simple practices that support clarity and resilience and balance for us. And so I invite you this month in particular to maybe give your mental state a little bit more care over the next few weeks and would challenge you to commit to taking care of your mental health. I've taken up over the years something called radical self-love. And so this involves loving the entire self, body, mind, and spirit, and taking steps to some degree every single day to care for each of those components. But in my mindfulness and meditation practice, I've come to see that really true health extends beyond the body. No matter how well I care for myself physically, the emotional weight of life's demands, along with maybe lingering patterns of behavior we've developed from our past experience, these kind of conditioned behaviors, can quietly shape how we think and feel and respond, where we're maybe repeating familiar loops of thought and behavior, maybe destructive or self-sabotaging, often without realizing it. And so I believe much of this strain comes from that constant inner dialogue that many of us carry in our mind. And mindfulness and these kind of practices offer a way for us to shift our relationship with that dialogue, not by eliminating it, but by creating enough space between our thoughts to affect our reaction. And we may not know that these stop thoughts for many of us are kind of like non-stop, right? And so we may not realize that there is, an ever so slight space between each of those thoughts. And we can create and broaden that space. And in that space, we reconnect with a greater sense of clarity and choice and possibility. And we really shift ourselves from a state of reacting to things to responding to them. And so for me, over the years, historically, I've kind of found myself in the same relationship type patterns in terms of maybe how I communicate and deal with conflict, or the same kind of destructive patterns on how I've dealt with grief, in terms of suppressing that really difficult emotion or numbing it. And when I changed my mindset to commit to that mental and emotional work, really that micro daily practice, I was able to quit some pretty destructive ways of thinking, reform those, and then release some bad habits. And so by creating enough mental space, we make different choices and allows us to break these kind of patterns. And so even just a few moments of intentional stillness can begin to shift our experience and help us to better understand our emotions and move through the days with much greater ease. And so I want to share with you a few techniques. I think I have four of them. And they're quite simple, but I do believe that the foundation, at least for my personal transformation, has been a steady meditation practice, because it has trained my mind to allow itself to get comfortable with stillness. And it helps us to lean more towards calm, a focused state of awareness when we just do a little bit of meditation on a daily basis. But when we do experience turbulent thoughts and emotions, when we're in those kind of states, here are four practices that we can employ. So the first one is called the pause and the breath reset. So you all know, if you know me, I am a big believer in the power of breath work for mental health. It is part of my daily practice, whether I do it in, a block of time, say like 5 minutes, or whether I sprinkle it into things I'm already doing throughout the day. So for example, if I'm filling my watering bucket to go water my garden, you all know that might take a minute or so. Instead of just getting lost in my head and ruminating, again, I am taking that time to breathe. But when in a state of unrest, I encourage you to get used to connecting with your breath often as like a quick reset, because the breath gives the mind a concrete anchor. The breath brings our attention back to something that is happening right now. And so when the mind is racing, it is usually time traveling, right? It's replaying what happened in the past, it's rehearsing what's going to happen in the future, or it's spinning through that constant cycle of what ifs that we seem to produce. And so, again, conscious breathing gives the mind a simple place to land, which helps shift us out of the mind and into the body, from mental overwhelm into present moment awareness. So, the next time you notice your mind is racing, see if you can pause and then take a slow inhale through the nose, followed by a longer, steady exhale through the mouth, and repeat that 2 to 3 times. This simple pattern helps to interrupt the stress response and gently bring you back in to the present moment. It's almost like a circuit breaker. I cannot tell you how many times I do this mid conversation when I'm talking with my 17-year-old son. I did it this morning again. We're going back and forth. I found myself kind of getting a little agitated during the conversation, pausing and reset. So even 20 seconds can interrupt the mental spiral and create a little bit more space between us and our thoughts. And then it becomes between us and our actions, right? And so breath work works because it gives the mind, again, something steady to focus on besides all those thoughts going on. And then it also signals the body that it's safe to soften. The next technique is called name it to tame it. So this is all about naming the emotions that we're experiencing. So when we are overwhelmed or experiencing difficult emotions, we often become fused with them, right? That feeling like I am anxious, I am angry, I am falling apart. And naming the emotion helps us to step back and recognize this is something I'm experiencing, not who I am. And so when the mind again is racing, instead of pushing that away, quietly name and label what you're experiencing. Oh, this is thinking, this is worrying, this is frustration. This is resentment, right? And that small shift creates space and perspective and choice. And that subtle act of naming creates space again between us and that emotion, because again, we often get so fused with our emotions and our thoughts. But in doing that helps to reduce its intensity and helps us to respond more thoughtfully. And then once we name it, we can take one slow breath and ask, what do I need in this moment? And maybe the answer is just to slow down. Or maybe the answer is, hey, you got to take a pause here. Or maybe you need to soften your body. You're holding a lot of tension, like I do in my jaw or in my shoulders. Or maybe simply we just need to step away from that situation and acknowledge that, what I'm going through right now is hard and I'm doing my very best. And the goal is not to fix the emotion immediately, right? What we're trying to do is to create enough space to respond with care instead of reacting from our overwhelm. So that's naming it to tame it. And then the third technique is the thought reframe. So this is going from an inner critic to an inner coach. And so this is another powerful mental health practice in learning to gently reframe the way we talk to ourselves. I mean, if you all are like me sometimes, like I talk to myself worse than I would talk to even somebody I don't like, right, at times. And so, again, that inner critic can be quite powerful and, be involved in shaping our experiences. So much of our stress, I believe, is not only caused by what's happening around us, but the story that we're telling ourselves about it. So, again, we may think, I can't handle this. I'm always messing things up, or again, this is too hard. And those thoughts can quickly intensify anxiety and overwhelm and self doubt. And a thought reframe does not mean pretending that everything is fine. It means, again, pausing long enough to ask, is this thought helping me, or is there a kinder, more balanced way to see this? For example, instead of saying, I'm failing at this, try, I'm having a hard moment, but I can take one step, right? I can take that next step. Or instead of saying, I'm so stupid, I should have this all figured out, try, I'm learning as I go, right? I'm doing the best I can. I'm putting my all into it. And this practice helps to shift the mind from criticism to compassion and from a state of helplessness to possibility. And for me, I found that over time, the more that I reframe that inner dialogue, it's helped me to build emotional resilience and reduce reactivity and to relate to myself and others with more patience and encouragement and care. And the more that I do it, the easier that it becomes and the more of a habit, right? Like instead of going to negative, my immediate thought is that reframe, right? The positive component. And so it's a simple but powerful way to practice mental well-being in real time, especially during moments when the mind is being hard on itself. And the last technique is these micro moments of stillness, slightly different from the pause and the reset that I talked about earlier. These micro moments of stillness is really the Medha Way, which is building in and weaving throughout your day, just very brief moments of stillness to rest rest and relax. I mean, it just takes a couple minutes, right? Because that stillness gives the nervous system a brief chance to reset. And so busy days often keep us in constant go, go, go mode, moving from one task or meeting or responsibility to the next. And even just a brief pause gives the body and mind a signal that they don't have to stay on high alert all day long. And so these small resets can help us reduce stress buildup before it turns into overwhelm and helps us to respond instead of react. And so when we never pause, we are more likely to operate from habit and urgency or emotion. And so that moment of stillness creates space and awareness that helps us make more intentional choices. So, again, for busy people, the stillness doesn't have to mean sitting in silence for 30 minutes, right? Even before opening an email or joining a call or meeting up with a friend. You can pause for just one full breath cycle. Or it can be as simple as pausing at a red light, taking one mindful breath while you're standing still in line, or maybe just closing your eyes for 20 seconds between tasks. And so we can build this practice not to escape life, but really to return to ourselves again and again in real life. And so I want to just encourage you again to maybe take, the next few weeks, each day, one or a couple of these practices and just give it a try each day and see how those small intentional moments of awareness can quietly build a more resilient and balanced and healthy mind. And so, along those lines, let's move into some stillness right now. Let's just spend a few minutes here meditating together. And before I do, I just want to share a little bit about the practice of meditation. So, meditation is a simple exercise that involves us paying attention in the present moment so that our mind and body can feel calmer and clearer. And in meditation, we often focus on an anchor, and it's usually the breath. But I use a mantra as well, which is really a sound or word or set of words that we repeat silently. And the idea is that our mind and our bodies respond to vibration, rhythm, and tone. It's the reason why music is so powerful for us, because the nervous system, again, is allowed to calm itself through those tones and vibrations. And so we have a mantra in this meditation, and our breath, we're sitting silently and we're focusing on those. Now the mind will wander. A big part of meditation is the thoughts that are involved, right? The idea is not to stop our thoughts when we're meditating, but again, change our relationship to them. And so over the next few minutes, I want you to give yourself permission to disconnect from your thoughts. It doesn't, again, mean we're stopping them, like, hey, thoughts, you got to stop for the next 10 minutes. It is giving yourself permission to not latch on to them, to allow them to pass. And when they do come up, and when you notice that you've kind of gone down a thought path, then just simply come back to that meditation anchor over and over. Because in meditation, losing focus and bringing it back is the workout, right? Every return is like a gentle rep for your attention. You're training it towards that calm, focused state of awareness. So, okay, if you're ready, let's give it a go here. So I invite you to get comfortable and let your eyes close gently, settling into your meditation posture, finding whatever nice, relaxed yet alert position for your body. Maybe setting your hands in your lap, palms facing up. Now bring your attention to your breath. Just breathe naturally here, not trying to force or control the breath. We're just observing what it's doing. You may notice there's a place in your body where you feel the breath the most. Sometimes it can be in the belly or the chest or the nose, but wherever it is, just observe your breath flowing in and out of that place. Now be aware of your mind and your thoughts and any emotions that may be coming up for you. Let's set the intention to release anything that does not concern you for the next 10 minutes or so. Give yourself permission to let it all go. You've got nowhere to go, nothing to do, but be here now. Bring your attention back to your breath. Let's breathe slowly and deeply. So take a deep inhale in and feel your belly rise up, filling the lungs. And then a slow exhale out, either the nose or the mouth. Fully releasing all of that air. Do that again. Inhale. And exhale. Last time. Let your breathing return to normal. And now we'll move into our So Hum meditation. This is a mantra meditation where we will silently repeat a word or set of words. In this case, it's So Hum. The idea is that mental vibration, ever so slight, helps to settle the mind, helps us to move beyond any turbulence there. And So Hum sort of mirrors the natural sound of our inhale and exhale. So when we take an inhale, we can easily maybe hear so, and then when we exhale, you could probably easily hear hum. But if so hum doesn't resonate with you, you can use any other word or affirmation that does. You can simply follow your breath with an in and a silent out, or you can count your breath to a number in, count it to a number out. Use whatever's comfortable for you and insert it for So Hum. So now taking a slow, deep breath through your nose, think the word so. And then as you slowly exhale through your nose, silently repeat the word hum. So hum. So hum. Continue to allow your breath to flow easily with no effort on your part. We're simply watching it and silently repeating so hum with each inflow and outflow of the breath. And whenever you notice that your attention has drifted, as it surely will, to other thoughts in your mind or sounds in your environment or sensations in your body, as soon as you notice you've drifted, gently return to your breath, silently repeating so hum, and allow that gentle vibration to take you deeper into silence. I'll watch the time and let us know when to finish. Continue to sit with your eyes closed. You can release that mental repetition, your awareness back into your body, back into the room. Maybe taking a deep breath here, moving the body a little, wiggling the toes and the fingers. And before we finish, let's plant some intentions for living a happy, harmonious life. So, setting an intention in that silence we've just created is like planting a seed in some fertile soil. So, here are 4 things that we can intend for in our days. And if you'd like, you can silently repeat them to yourselves. Joyful, energetic body, loving, compassionate heart, reflective, alert mind, lightness of being, and laughter. Let those intentions go, and when you're ready, you can gently open your eyes. All right, my friends, how was that? Hopefully, you felt a little calm, maybe a little settling down. Taking it through the rest of the day. So, again, a reminder this month, mental health awareness. Let's try to employ some of these techniques, the pause and the reset, name it, tame it, reframe the inner critic, and drop those micro moments of stillness in throughout your days here. So, thank you for creating the space for you today. And remember, again, to give yourself that mental space. Again, be well. Appreciate you.